something I was thinking we could start with is I wanted to ask you when you think of creativity, like the word creativity, or when people speak of creativity, what does that mean to you and like the work that you do?
I'm fine, thanks, and you. Yo, straight.
People don't need to hear introductions.
my, my day has been wonderful, thank you. That's lit.
Yeah.
Cool. Creativity. Huh. That's a good one. I don't know. Creativity. I think creativity is like a feeling, bruh.
Feeling, okay.
I don't think it's like an outcome. I think it's a feeling that you can possibly then share.
Okay.
Right. So I'm pretty sure like I don't know. So my experience, right? My experience of creativity is when I'm in like good concentration, good flow. And it's often like it's not even always stuff I'm talented at. Like I've recently been just enjoying doing like PowerPoint presentations, just like aligning things and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then the next day I don't enjoy it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the day I'm enjoying it. I'm in like a good flow and absorbed. I'm absorbed. Like some absorption.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a good absorbed feeling. And then I think I'm creative as hell, man. Like I think like whatever I'm putting down, I'm like, yo, these words make the best sense. This picture is the right one for this.
Yeah.
And I just feel good about it. And then it's easy to like defend and stuff when I send it to like my partner to say, oh yeah, this is what I was thinking about there, because it's already coming with this good emotion, good feeling. Whether it's the most creative, probably not, right? It's probably not the like objectively from the outside.
Huh.
But it's a feeling that I've got, and then generally speaking, when I feel that feeling, when I say it to my partner, he likes it too. Where
That's
he's
cool.
like, oh, that made a lot of sense. Cool, yeah, it's cool that you put it there.
Yeah.
And it didn't come from like logical process of like this is how the structure should be and whatnot. It was just like it just happened, right? And it just felt good. And then I think they get that feeling too.
So you're saying when you say it didn't come from a logical process, like it just happened, you don't have things that you do to like make it happen, like to help yourself get to that feeling of creativity, or
Yeah, that's a good one. I think there's no structure though, right? Like I'm writing a pitch deck, so I should put problem first. And then I sort of have an idea of what a problem should be, but the way I communicate it, I just get lost in a bit. Like I get absorbed in it, and I can easily just veer off what I looked at and on another different slide, which I was maybe copying or something, right?
Okay. Yeah, so it's like actually you're then coming
So
up
like
with the original stuff.
I've got two tabs open, right? I've got a tab where I'm like, oh, this is like a cool one. I would like it to look like, right? And then when I don't have that feeling, I find myself copying that a lot more than when I have the feeling where I'm just like, oh, that's the look and feel. And then like, I don't tend to go back there often. It's just like,
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think that's something that can be taught?
So I think
creativity, like, or the way you do it.
Yeah, so I guess like, I mean, what I'd call it is like absorption, or like it's like a concentrated state. So it's just a mind state. So can you teach that mind state?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can, right? I know you're a swimmer and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
you can teach to be concentrated on your right stroke, left stroke, right stroke.
Yeah.
And then from there, when you're nice and concentrate, I'm pretty sure you can alter your stroke accordingly to what's most beneficial, and you might make yourself a bit faster. Your coach gave you a structure, but like you're like, oh, when I twist my shoulder like this, I get a bit faster.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that just takes like concentration or like an absorption into what you're doing, and you can very easily just see any small differences and what you did for that difference.
Yeah.
And just and it feels good too, right? It must be like fun.
Yeah. Huh.
So can you teach concentration? I think you can teach concentration.
Yeah. So for you, I mean, obviously, I think we'll talk about meditation a lot, but did you have stuff before you discovered meditation? Like, did you have things similar, like in your life? Like swimming for me was one. Where now you look back and you're like, oh, like that's where, like, even though I didn't know it at the time, I was learning like these good habits there, doing this thing.
I remember as a kid, man. As a kid, I used to. It might even be called OCD, right? But I used to just like love counting my steps.
Okay.
Like like especially at school and stuff, right? Like the school like passageway, the tiles. I remember in primary school, the tiles were like just above a foot, like a step length, right? So I'd go into like 1.5 steps.
Okay.
Right. So I remember whenever I walked, I'd always want to like walk 2 tiles.
Okay.
And then I'd like just like, and I'd just be concentrating on just like making sure my foot touched the line on the second tile.
Interesting. I had a similar thing. Yeah, I had a similar thing to that. That's funny.
And then counting stairs, like every single time I get onto stairs, I'd count them like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And only recently when I got into walking meditation, I was like, oh snap.
Of course, yeah.
That's exactly the same thing. And yeah, I guess and it's a very similar feeling. Like, so the feeling I remember as a kid was like this light feeling when I'm walking. Like it was just like this. Yeah. So that's one thing I don't know if I can remember anything else.
Interesting. But what, like, because you kind of lose that. I don't know what it is. Because I can remember as a kid just like having so much wonder for so many things and like being so curious, and then you just kind of lose that. I don't know what age it is, where I guess it's your ego kind of develops, right? And you're just like stuck in your head. But I don't know when exactly, if there's a switch or it's like this gradual thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I can say there was a point. Like I can remember being amazed by things as a kid, like just so amazed by, I don't know, like peeling apart a fruit or something like that. But but like now that takes a lot of work for me to sit and like peel apart a nachi and like look at each segment. Like take a lot of concentration for me to get in that state, kind of thing.
And then what happens when you go to a new place where it's a new fruit you've never seen? Do you get that?
Yeah, it makes it easier, right? And same with a new place. Like, so it's definitely these habits of like you just take things for granted. You're like, because so much of it is to do with new, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like perception, I think, at least, right? When I see something, I already name it. And then once I've named it, I have a story about it already.
Yeah.
Like I see an iPad and I'm like, I already have a story. It's like, oh, this looks like my brother's iPad. Yo, I used to have an iPad when I was a bit younger, or that I got that iPad that was stolen from me. Yo, why do people steal? Right? It's just like, and it was just from seeing like a shape, and then my sort of brain just recognized this as a shape, and then said it's an iPad. So whereas I guess when you I guess when you're a kid, you don't have that perception. So you see an iPad. There's no perception of this is an iPad. So you can explore it.
So much of it is like just as your memory develops, right? You have like old memories that you can refer back to. So interesting.
And cool. I guess funny enough too, so I mean, perception is, so I've been thinking a little bit about perception, and I guess like in Buddhism and stuff, they name perception as one of the 5 experiences. Like there's a few things that you only experience, and perception is one. So I've been using that framework just to see, like, and apparently it happens quite quickly. Like as soon as you perceive something, if you catch it, then you can lose yourself and be absorbed. But if you don't, you create a story.
Yeah. Wait, so what are the other 4 experiences?
So apparently all that the 5 things that a human can experience are: number 1, body. So that includes your senses, touch, feel, sight, taste, etc. Second thing you can experience is perception. So when any of those, the first is body, and then the other 4 are mind. Right. So first is body, 4 are mind, and all these 4 happen in the mind. So the mind is category. It's got different experiences within it. So then, second one is perception. So when anything touches the body, you can perceive it, right? So if I see a light, I can perceive it as a tree, right? If I see water, I perceive it as water. If I feel water, I can perceive it as liquid water. If I hear a sound that sounds like water, I perceive it as water. Cool. And then the third one is, we call it sort of mental states. So it's like emotions, right? So I see water, I perceive water, and then if I've drowned before, right, I can have an emotional attachment or emotional aversion to water, right? So there's just an emotion that comes about, either fear or delight, or whatever emotion comes up from there. And then the fourth one is thought processes, right? So you can experience different thought processes that happen. So, and then the fifth one is consciousness itself, right? So you can have an experience of consciousness, so an experience of experiencing.
Yeah. No, I think you've brought these up with me before, but is there like a hierarchy, or are they chained together?
Yeah, they chain together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all, so all those come together to give an experience.
Okay. Yeah, so it's your 5 parts. Okay. Huh. Nice. How has your practice been going? Your meditation practice?
It's cool. I've recently just like, and I've been quite averse to doing walking meditations.
Averse.
And I've just, yeah, averse to it. Just
Okay.
like, yeah, I'm not doing much of it. And then I just started a course where I've been forced to do like 30 minutes a day, which is
Okay.
really just forced me to do it. And I'm like, wow, this stuff helps in day-to-day life, not just when you're sitting.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's been really, really good, to be honest.
Yeah. So you made like this full loop from childhood to I guess it's not a loop,
Yeah.
it's a path. Like yeah.
I, I I used to do it at UCT a bit, actually. Like if you when you walk down University Road,
Mm,
um, yeah, those like largest concrete blocks.
okay. Yeah. And you
But
try to hit the
sometimes I
line.
can't. I hit the line. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I know. That's funny. What I was wondering what your like path was, because I know bits and pieces of it, but what is like the whole path into
Mm,
meditation for you? Like,
yeah. Yeah. You've opened a big packet of chips. I hope you have a big appetite. You like these aren't Lays. It's not Lays where it's like only 40% of the packet is.
yeah.
This one is filled to the brim.
I love it. Yo, this is a good deal. So it's more what you call it? It's Pringles, because those are like pretty
Yeah,
compact.
yeah, 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 exactly. And it's an expensive one too. It's not Pringles are not Pringles are for private schools.
Yeah. But that was a treat for
um
us, dude, when we went to South Africa getting Pringles. Like, yo.
Even now when I buy Pringles, I'm like, yo, this is a treat. I know I shouldn't be doing it, but
Yeah, I
then you
don't
get the
like,
small ones,
yeah.
which are like $20. But yeah.
In my head, like, I don't even look at them. They're just too expensive. But like, they might
Yeah.
actually be a reasonable price. I have no idea.
Yeah, they're not too bad.
Yeah.
I think the rate of change of Lay's price has been greater
Okay.
than Pringles. So it's like it's catching up. Yeah, cool. I'd love to hear yours because I think you inspired me a lot in the beginning, to be honest, of just actually just doing a practice and just practical. Oh yeah, use this app. All right. So I think I remember a time we hiked 10 ops and
Yeah, I was thinking about.
you sat down and you told me about Headspace. I was like, what? Okay. And I don't like, I mean, obviously I knew nothing about it, right? But there was
Yeah.
just like this natural inquisition. And it was just like a perfect moment when you presented it. Like we're just like at the top of a cliff.
Yeah, it was
And it
actually
was
epic setting. It'd be a great,
yeah,
great ad for Headspace.
and like a sound of a waterfall behind, and it was
Yeah,
just incredible.
that's interesting.
um, yeah, how did I get into it? So I remember. So I mean, like just there's a few discrete points. I think it's probably a continuous story, right? But there's a few discrete
Mm.
points that are quite memorable. I remember after varsity, just like after suffering a lot and just not really being happy, and not even understanding like how and why this is, and there should be more. So I remember a cousin of mine just said that what he did was he just looked up and read all the different religions and tried to make sense of them himself. So I remember that being a discrete point. I was like, oh, interesting. He was like, yeah, I was just reading them from first principles. So trying to not
Okay.
look at commentaries, but like look at important verses and stuff of each and doing his own research. So that inspired me a bit. When I got back, I remember like a week where I just dedicated. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm gonna like try read the Quran. I wanna try read the Bible. And then I was thinking of Judaism as well, just like reading the Old Testament too.
Yeah.
I was like, it'll fit into Christianity anyway. Either way, I've got no bloodline either way, so I don't think that's an option. Yeah, and then like I had a vague idea of the Eastern traditions, but it wasn't on my list to do. It was firstly like read Christianity a bit, read the Quran a bit, and then it didn't go as planned. Like reading a Bible is a lot more commitment so I was mostly on Wikipedia. and then when it was interesting, I get absorbed into like different things that they speak about, and then I just look for those things. And just like read through the stuff, and then I stumbled upon Buddhism too, and I read about it, and I was like, like out of all the stuff, this seems just like practical, right? I was like,
yeah.
The guy's story, like, the guy's story is like he's just a human, and I don't need to like have any belief in some higher authority or anything. It's just like a human saying, look, this is the human condition I've noticed.
Yeah.
And I think you can get out of stress by doing these things.
Yeah.
So it really just caught my attention. And then the normal thing where you just feel inspired and you read more, and then you forget about it.
Yeah.
So then I forgot about it. And then towards the end of that year, I was like, I want to travel a bit. And I decided to go to China because I was going to go and look for Buddhism.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was part of your China trip. Okay. Or the reason for your China trip.
Yeah.
Like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess I wanted to go to Tibet too. But I went at the wrong time because you have to go with a guide. Because it was quite heavily protected by China and whatnot. So I didn't get to go there, but I went west to a place called Xining province. And there they had, it's the closest province to Tibet, still quite far, but the culture's there. So that's where that was my first meditation ever. So this is actually even before our chat at Henops, right? I had my first meditation there ever. It's like 30 minutes and it was terrible.
Where, like at a temple or something?
No, I found something on Meetup.
Nice.
I found something on Meetup, and they were just like, yeah, we have this, these Chinese Zen Buddhist monks that do this meditation. So I got there, and it was organized by a Western person.
Okay.
But everyone else was speaking Chinese. So the monk was giving instructions in Chinese. So I sat down and I just I knew from TV and stuff what meditation looks like.
You had like one eye open, like trying to see.
Yeah. I kept it opening my eyes. I remember, and it was like it's like a black man cross-legged too, right? My hips were going wild. Like there was so much pain in my knees, and I was just like, "This is weird." And they just seemed like they were into it, which was interesting. Yeah, but I guess that was a discrete point. I remember like that first sit down and just like realizing, oh snap, my mind just goes and goes and goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, then so I didn't find any Buddhism in China. Came back, and then the next discrete point I remember before you two was I just moved to the new place, moving from Pretoria. I had a roommate. My first roommate there was Olivier, a guy called Olivier. And I remember at the gate, he was on the way to work. We're both walking to work. And at the gate, I don't know how the conversation got there, but he just told me about meditation. I'm like, word? He's like, yeah, I do 10 minutes in my room every morning. I'm like,
Yeah.
for real? but I'm like, I don't hear any noise from your room. Like, because I guess I thought you have to be going right. And then I remember him saying that he's gone to this 10-day retreat in the Western Cape, silent retreat. I was like, what, 10 days silence? And that's no ways, right? It was just like,
Yeah.
but he was just like explaining the benefits, and then he just like, I don't remember like much of the content he spoke about, but it just made sense to me. I remember.
Yeah.
And then the next discrete point was that Henop's mountain headspace discussion.
Yeah.
That made a real impact, because like all the seeds from before just came together, and I was like, oh, I can just download an app to actually like do it. So like, all that airplane money to China, I should have just spoken to Kim.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know if I was onto it yet when you went to China. That's funny.
Yeah, I think it was 2014 or so.
Yeah. It was about
13 or 14. Yeah. So after Henops, I remember like just getting home, downloading it, and then I just did like a 10-day one.
Yeah.
And I knew that, so I knew the benefit, right? It was tough to get into, right? Just like this frustration. I should be calm. Right.
Yeah.
But like the voice guiding me, just letting me know, this is normal, etc., was quite cool. So I did 10 days, and I like left it again and went along my path. And then I'd come back to it once in a while, just like do a meditation, but not really integrating it into my life yet.
Yeah.
And then I remember like February or March of, I think it was like 2016, where it's 2016 or 17, I think it was 16, where I just remember one morning decided like, okay, cool, I'm going to be a meditator. And it didn't, like, it didn't come from me. That was the next discrete point. It didn't come from me. I just like decided like, cool, I'm going to be a meditator, and I'm just going to like practice every day. I'm just going to do like 5 minutes every day. Right? And I remember I had a girlfriend at the time, and I told us like, dude, let's be meditators.
Yeah.
Download this Headspace app, and we'll just do 10 minutes a day. And then I remember just like being at it, just 10 minutes every day, just in the morning. And then she did like 3 days or 4 days, and then she just like fell off. And then after like maybe a month of doing it, I started getting it a bit. I started like feeling like a slight difference in my day. I'm like, like I'm not as reactive. Like there's slight difference. There's slight difference in the extremity of my stresses in the day. Right. So then I was like, okay, there is something to this, right? And then like I went, like, I think middle of that year, I just had like the craziest bad depression, and just like just disenchanted by everything, disenchanted by work, not sending invoices. I had like 2-3 months worth of invoices that I'm just not sending.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a 3 minutes to do.
Yeah.
I've done the work, but I'm just not sending it.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, okay, there's something really wrong here. I don't know what's wrong, but this can't be life. And this has happened before, and it's a little cycle. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna go to India, and go and find this Buddhism thing again.
But before that, so that decision, because I was waiting for you in the UK at this stage, because I was expecting you to come visit me in Glasgow.
Yeah.
And you just went, so.
So what? I don't know if it was on purpose. It wasn't on purpose, but what actually happened was like I got to taste two extremities, which was very like, oh shit. In reflection, that's very interesting, right? So yeah, so friends of mine so happened at the similar time I wanted to go to India. We're going to the UK, and they were, and I looked at prices of flights, and I was like, it's like 2,000 Rand different to go to the UK and then India instead of going from South Africa to India straight. So I said 2,000 Rand extras for me to see the UK would be great. And these friends of mine were going to the UK for like party, right? We're going to like a festival. So it wasn't planned, but I guess it just unraveled that way. I was supposed to come see you in Glasgow and whatnot. I can't remember what happened.
I mean, it wasn't a submit. It wasn't like a solid plan.
Yeah,
It was just out there, like
yeah,
it's an option.
yeah. So I got to see like extremities, right? I went crazy at a festival, right? It's like drinking a lot and you know, MDMA and all these crazy things, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And then I jumped straight out of that onto a flight to India.
That's insane.
And I remember like, I mean, at the festival, I knew that, okay, cool. Like, I expected to have fun, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of it, I was feeling so shit. I was like, okay, it's definitely not that, right? It can't be that because I still, it's nice whilst it lasts, but I still don't have any lasting well-being.
Yeah.
Right? Which happened by accident, right? I mean, I didn't plan to like go in two different extremities to like find the middle.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so then I went to India, and then like, you know, from that hectic festival, like maybe 4 days later, I was in a 10-day retreat. So a 10-day silent retreat.
But that wasn't planned either, right? Because what was the story of like what happened when you got to India? Like you landed there.
Yeah, so I mean, just before I went to India, I remember a friend of mine on Facebook. He did a year's trip to India.
Okay.
So I had a general idea, like I'm just gonna go and explore and hopefully find some monasteries and practice there and get teachings and whatnot. But I didn't know where, what, and I had no idea. But I just remember messaging him on Facebook, like, yo, you did a year. This is what I'm looking for. And then he replies like, okay, dude, you need to go up north to a place called Dharamshala. There's a Buddhist retreat there. And it's, you know, really cool. I did it. So I was like, cool. And then there was a website. So I checked on their website and it was full. Oh, I was late, right? So it was like 4 days before. So I wasn't sure I was going to make it, but I just decided to go anyway. I was like, there's no way they're going to deny me when I'm at the door. From what I've read of Buddhists anyway. And the journey there was crazy because, yeah, just being in India and having to travel via bus, like it was like a 10-12 hour trip. And the bus station's never where it's supposed to be. And my lateness generally is also like, I expect the best of every situation. I remember like some really skinny Indian guy like riding a bicycle, taking me up to the bus at some stage. And eventually got there. I somehow arrived at the monastery like on the morning of when we're checking in. Just checked in, they took my phone, we just had to wear very, very modest clothing, and then silence started. And then that's where that's where I really learned about meditation. That's
When
that's where I was like, okay, I get it. I think it was a good combination of there being an English teacher, someone I could understand.
Oh wow.
And I mean, I think there's like maybe two main things, right? Number one, the teacher. I've never experienced anyone as wise ever in my life up until that point. Right? Like, I've got a lot of smart friends like you guys, and but there was something different, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't intellectual, it wasn't book learned. Whenever someone asked her it was a lady, actually.
Okay,
yeah, it was a nun.
That's cool.
Whenever someone asked the question, I'd feel irritated. I'm like, man, that's a stupid question.
Yeah.
But I felt involved in the answer when she answered. I was like I'd probably call it compassion, right? There was like this feeling that she gave to the answer. Like, there's no one else in the world but your question and this answer I'm trying to, deliver to you. And it was beneficial, right? It was beneficial for that. It wasn't just, she wasn't just like showing off her knowledge. It was beneficial. And just like, I was like, wow, there's such, the discernment of what is beneficial.
Yeah.
Is very different to, like, it takes listening, it takes creativity, it takes absorption.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess it's not just what she says, it's like how she says it, right?
Yeah, and it was soft, and then at times she was hard, but it was like she didn't have one style, right? It wasn't like she's a soft person. It just felt like she had no plan. There's no personality delivering it. It's just a feeling and absorption, and the words just come out as they should be. And I was like, I want that. Like, I remember just like that there feels peaceful, and it's better than that festival.
Yeah.
That side.
It's interesting. I wonder, I would love to like have 10 people ask her the same question, like 10 different characters, and see how she answers to 10 different people, like how different it would be. Because like this, the way someone answers a question or asks a question also can be different. So,
Yeah. I think that, and then the second thing is, I had my first taste of peace I remember it was like maybe the third day of meditation. It was the evening, and I felt a concentrated absorption where I just had no worries, no thoughts, and there was just like rapture in my body. It's the first time I was aware. This stuff I've felt before, right? Like the feeling and well-being after going for a massage, maybe, right? That well-being feeling I've felt before, but I've never been aware of the feeling and see that I brought it upon myself.
okay, yeah.
And then there I was like, whoa, that there, like, I don't know what it is. Like, we're learning theory of it, but I was like, it clicked. I'm like, okay, that's what they mean.
But it's an interesting thing, because you feel like you then end up chasing that feeling again.
Yeah.
And that is then.
Yeah, there's definitely like a craving for that feeling experience. But but it's yeah. So it is a hindrance to the actual practice I've seen, but that's because I'm not practicing correctly. So seeing like you focus on the causes of feeling, right? So which is part of the practice too, then, because that is exactly, I guess, we're craving for all those feelings all the time, right? Like I don't want to feel this way. I want to feel this way. I don't want to have this experience. I don't want to. I think if I move, or I think if I change jobs, or if I have it, right? I don't want to experience. I think things will be different. I want. It's the same. It's the same desire. It's the same principle with the feeling too. So as you practice more, it loosens up. And you can watch it happen, right? Then like there's this emotion of wanting that feeling, and you watch that wanting, and then you can even just label, oh, wanting, and you can just see the emotion come, like, rise and fall. So it's part of the practice.
Yeah. So how was the rest? So that was like day 3, you're hitting peace, like, so then you're just onwards and upwards in your 10-day retreat.
Day 4 was the worst day. So day 4 was knee day. Day 4 was, my knees like were exploding.
Yeah.
It was like the most tension. Like it felt like something would just like snap, and I would need like some sort of knee surgery at the end of it.
Oh wow. Because you're sitting cross-legged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found that very difficult, the sitting part, and observing. They say just watch the pain, and then it was just all nonsense for me at the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got through it. I remember it stayed, like, then like from day 6 on was fine, right? And I think what happens is that I remember what happened is, like, I just got dispassionate about being angry at wondering how long is left in the meditation for my knees. There's like some natural, the mind just naturally just like lets it go, because it realizes that it's just causing itself more tension.
Okay. Yeah.
And then once you see that, like, there's a moment of like, mind just gets tired of holding on to that. I wonder how long it is, and like, then it just lets go, and then like you like, poof, you're like, oh, interesting. I don't feel pain.
Yeah.
Right? There's a sensation there, but I'm not stressed about it.
Huh. I had this thing where I was like, man, I must have been like 14, 15 years old, and we went to the dentist, and like, he kind of said, like, listen, I can give you an injection. We're going to do like the small filling, and I can give you an injection, which there's going to be no pain, but it's going to like make the thing cost like this much more. And like, I don't know, just like growing up, I was like super aware of money. It's in Zim also, like, new times were bad. So I was like, nah, I'll take the pain. And it was an interesting thing, because it was like flipping sore, but because I had chosen to have it, maybe I was like, the pain was actually like over here somewhere. So I'm like lying back, and I was almost like, it was almost like an out of body experience. That's how I imagined it, because I was just watching this like throbbing pain, like somewhere over there, just going like, and just being curious about it rather than like suffering from it. So yeah, it was a really interesting thing to, and I don't,
And how did you decide to do that? Or,
well, I think it was because I chose, like, I was like, no, I don't need the injection. So I was like, I can take, like, I'm gonna be a man kind of thing. So then, yeah, I was just like, I'm gonna be curious. And I think I'd heard of like out of body experience kind of thing. So maybe that was going through my head also, but it was just like, huh, like I'm expecting pain, like let me just like watch it as it comes. And it was so weird because I was like, it was definitely like, it was intense, like, but it, like you say, it was that thing of just watching it and almost like accepting it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, that's I mean, that's really cool what you did with without like without having any like background. I'm just like intuitively doing it. That's shows that like the mind is that way directed if you have an intention.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen with pain is like the actual stress from the pain is like you felt pain and then it's a stress that I'm going to experience this pain the next second, right? That fear. So like what, like the emotion there, the emotion that is attached there is now, there's a pain, but then now there's an emotion there of fear or aversion. Like, I don't want this. Because like you feel like you want to experience it the next moment.
That's actually worse, right? It's like almost a tightness in your chest also.
Yeah. But I guess when you are, and I guess it's like it's just perception, right? Like when, like I'm not like, if I'm doing shoulders at gym, right? There's one scenario I'm doing shoulders at gym. There's another scenario, some buff guy is just grabbing my shoulders and hurting me. All right, the pain can be the same, but the pain from doing shoulders at gym is different because I'm like, I'm gonna have I perceive it like, this is beneficial.
Yeah.
Whereas other one, I'm like, when will this pain stop?
Yeah.
I don't want to experience it again.
Yeah. Huh. So you push past your pain in your meditation. So was that a big thing for you to have that?
Yeah, it was good because I was like, I could sit a bit longer. I just had more, it just gave a bit more confidence. Like, but it was definitely not permanent, right? Like the next minutes I was worrying about the knees again. But I had a memory of like, oh, there is a possibility that you don't feel it, right? I had like a good 5 minutes where I didn't feel it. So like it's there. And I guess I wasn't concentrated enough to see the causes of that. I guess because that's what I guess concentration does, is being able to reflect on the causes of that and then practice those causes. And then when you practice those causes, you probably get a similar effect.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So you, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I got through the 10 days. And yeah, I was just convinced that like
yeah, and having, like you're saying, those extremes, like
yeah, I was just thoroughly convinced. I was like, there is, and then at the end, I remember the nun, like she just gave two. There's just two things that I just took out of that. I guess from all the teachings and all that, like just practically what she says, like, look, you need to develop like an absorption or a concentration, right? So all you need to do is just do 20 minutes at least every day, every morning, when you get back home. Like this journey is not being in India, right? You're not going to find anything in India. It's not any place that you're going to find this thing. It's in your day-to-day life that you cultivated. So you don't have to keep chasing, going to different places. Just practice for a minimum of 20 minutes every day, and you will see. Like, just like money back guarantee, you will you will see something. I remember just taking that to heart. And then she was also like, oh yeah, and I'm also on this app called Inside Timer. I'm like, what? You're a nun and you're on an app? That means I need to be on that app too. So I've been on that app ever since.
Yeah. Epic. Yeah. That's cool. And you've done more retreats since then, huh? Like in South Africa.
Yeah. I've done more retreats. And yeah, and just more of a dedication to just like a path.
Okay.
Yeah, just having seen some benefits. I'm quite certain that
that's nice, right? That's also nice just to like be able to stop searching and be like, okay, this is good.
Yeah. It's like it's. I remember something like. I remember just deciding too, right? So it was like, there's so many books, and like I'm like reflecting. I'm like, I always read books, and then forget about it. Like, feel good for the first 2 days, 3 days, and then forget about it. And it doesn't really like present a complete path, right? Like the marketing for Buddhism was like just great, right? It was just like, there's a path to you never ever having to stress again, never ever being discontent again, right? And I'd never seen any other marketing that was offering that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just stick to one product.
Yeah.
And like the product is like independent, right? I like it. It's not didn't feel very dependent on external agencies, which was good marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's almost free. It's almost like a free thing also. Like,
Yeah. And your journey?
yeah, I don't know if there were sharp points, but I like something for me was I started journaling in like maybe the last year at UCT. Which, do you journal at all?
No.
Yeah. So that was an interesting thing for me, was like just writing down what was in my head. Like if there was a thought, because then it just moved the thought, it like put space around it kind of thing. I wasn't like so caught up in like a single thought, like it was just on the paper. So that, I think that was an interesting thing. And yeah.
Yes, tell me about journaling. So I guess it relieves stress, or what's the experience that you get from it?
I mean, it varies so much. Like sometimes I'm like writing down ideas, or like writing down a moment in a day, like something that was amazing, or writing down like maybe writing down like the way I reacted to something. Or sometimes like there's some like routine things I do, like I'll do it for like, I don't know, a month or so. It's like every day writing down something I'm grateful for, like once a day, and then I'll stop doing that for a while. So like there's like things people recommend, but when I started out, it was just like, it wasn't even that often. It was just like now and again, it mainly like an idea or something. But
Okay.
yeah, I can remember one of the early times I was journaling. There was some, I don't know if it's a poem or like a thought experiment thing that I was reading at the time, and they were talking about like what amount of time can you perceive in your mind? Like, can you hold an entire year in your mind? Like, you can't. It's just too big. And then they kind of like, okay, can you hold a month in your mind? Like an entire month? That no, you can't. And they kind of break it down, a day, a second, like a microsecond. It's like the only thing that's like you can hold in your mind is like this instant. And like that's the only thing that's really real, is this moment, like right now. And I just remember like that like blur. I don't know if I wrote about it or, but I associate that memory with journaling. And
Okay.
from there, like for me, like the big thing that I'd come back to has been like, okay, the only thing that's actually real is now. Like I can worry about the past,
Yeah.
or I can like worry about the future kind of thing, overthink the future. But actually like the only thing that's really real is now, and like returning to that thought is like brings a lot of peace from like being
Okay.
lost in your mind. But yeah, so
Okay.
journaling was a good, and I still do it. And then in terms of meditation, there was a time like I used to, actually maybe this is where it started. I was flying to Cape Town, and I bought a Wired magazine. And so like for a long period after that, every time I flew, I'd buy like a Wired magazine, which is like more like tech design kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in that magazine, they had an article, uh, like monk creates an app for meditation, and it was Headspace. Like there was Andy with like his bald head kind of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if I downloaded the app right then or was like later, uh, when I was like, yeah, it's just like stuck in my head, like worrying about stuff, or overthinking things. And I was like, I just need some kind of escape, from that.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, yeah, like doing the 10-day Headspace, and paying, like doing, I think I subscribed for a while also and did like a lot of their courses. And
Yeah.
then since then it's kind of been on and off, uh, like, but like reading books about ego, and like
Yeah.
how like more like, I guess it's these books that like look at it from like this, like what the science is looking at now, and then
Yeah.
and being like, but oh, like Buddhism and stuff have been saying this for like centuries kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've never really, yeah, Buddhism I've never actually, besides in those books and like talking to people,
Yeah.
I've never actually like gone and explored it. There are a lot of people who teach, like a lot of the practices are like either Buddhist, teachers, or like sort of derived from there. Yeah. So I think like since I did the Headspace, I kind of like maybe like paid for it for a while and then stopped, and like since then it's kind of just been like up and down, like doing it, which is weird because I was thinking about this now. It's like, when you're healthy, you don't appreciate your health until you're like sick. Uh, so there's like, after a while, you're like, you kind of, I'd like stop meditating or whatever for a while, and then like reaches a point where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I've just been stuck in my head for like the last half hour worrying about this thing kind of thing, or like I really need to get back into meditation. And it helps, like every time it helps. So it's like, I feel like you're more of a believer in it than me, because I keep on like just be like, nah, I can do this on my own kind of thing. I don't need this practice. So no,
that's something interesting you said, like when you're well, you don't appreciate your well-being.
Yeah.
Like, funny enough, like I contemplated that today. I guess it was from something I was listening to, but what the guy was saying is that what actually happens then, if when you're well, you get addicted to being well. And then when you don't have wellness, it's like being taken off a drug.
Yeah.
And now you need that fix of wellness.
Yeah. Huh.
Like that's like you have an attachment to being well, where and because then we don't see the world clearly. The world clearly is that we are definitely gonna get sick, we're definitely gonna age, we're definitely gonna die.
Yeah.
But it comes as a shock when it happens.
Yeah.
When we get sick, it comes as a shock. Like, but no, dude, you're you're a biological species. Right? You're supposed to have viruses in you that live.
Yeah. Oh man.
And it's like an addiction, and yeah, I got sick. I was sick like maybe 2 weeks ago. And I just remember watching what was going on, and it was just this emotion of like, why me?
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't, like this aversion to like this. Right? It wasn't even terribly bad, right? I had like hay fever, right? And then I was just like pissed off at having hay fever.
Yeah.
Like I could be doing something else, right? But I've got this, and then like I was like, but when I'm well, like, like I want to be well, right?
Yeah.
And then it was obviously hard, the inertia to just like, to break the inertia and do a sit down. When I eventually sat down and just settled into like a mindfulness of just watching my breathing. That emotion disappeared. I was like, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And I was like, this thing is just all where you put your mind, wherever you put your attention. Like I was very interested in that. I could just move my attention away from, and what I also noticed, which is something like, I guess like that stuff is like theoretical. I've like, but the one part that I noticed, which was really interesting, was like, dude, I got pleasure out of feeling sorry for myself. Like there was, and when I watched it, I was like, there's an actual pleasure point in feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
There's a little pleasure that I get, like, and I watched it particularly but it's got a lot of side effects, that pleasure, but like, which are negative. But there's like a moment where I'm like, like, why me, right? And then there's like a little dopamine or something that just arises from there.
Yeah.
And then I guess what happens then, I just indulge in that because I see it as pleasurable. And then it just has negative side effects, because then I start, it's like you start feeling stressed about it and tense and tight, etc.
Yeah. Huh. So why do you think there's like, when you're saying like why me, why is there like pleasure in there?
Yeah, I think I think I guess like I think we just like we always just want to feel good or feel happy, right?
Mm.
And that has made me feel happy at some stage, and I've just like stuck to that habit because I've not.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm pretty sure like I didn't reflect on it as this far back, right? But I'm sure I've developed some sort of habit of feeling sorry for myself, and maybe my mom coming and saying, no, it's okay, don't worry about it, and then I've just not let go. I've not let go of that habit.
Yeah.
Because I've never properly reflected on, is this beneficial for me or not?
Yeah.
Right. And when I have like a real reflection, it loosens it up. Then I'm less, I get disenchanted by that pleasurable feeling, because I can definitely feel there's a pleasurable feeling, and it's very similar to my depression. It's like very similar to my depression. Is like there's this pleasure from feeling sorry for myself, but it's like but it has a lot of side effects. That pleasure has a lot of bad side effects. But the reason I've developed that habit is because it's pleasurable. Right? Like there's no way you can develop a habit which is unpleasant and it's not pleasant.
It's like drinking
there's
too
a
much,
pleasure,
right? Yeah. It's like,
there's a little pleasure point there. Yeah. It's like everything. Like drink, like it's like any good insight. I was like, that's actually it, right? And like even in Buddhist terms, right, they say like the cause of all suffering is clinging, right? Clinging to a pleasure or desire, right? And I guess the process is to actually see what desires are good and what desires are what desires give us long-term, like it gives us long-term well-being now and long-term well-being now and well-being in the long term, right? And the only way you can see that is if you concentrate and just like watch what actually happened. I guess that's what you're building, is like this discernment, and it takes that concentration just to see it in the mind. Like it happens quickly because it happens quickly. I saw it, like it happens quite quickly. There's like blah pleasure, but it's so muddled up. But but it's there and brew, and then it just causes me to go into bed and just like lay back. And I was like, interesting. And then when I substituted it I felt that, and I was like, okay, I don't think this is not going to be beneficial for me. I'm quite weak right now. Let me just try meditate. And all I've done is basically just substituted an attachment to that pleasure to something that is more, when I discern this is for my better, like it makes me feel good now and it's beneficial in the long term, getting a pleasure from my breath rather, right? Because you still have to, well, what I saw is that I still have to, I'll only let something else go which is pleasurable if I find something more pleasurable, right? So like the breath actually has to be pleasurable. And it actually it takes time for you to realize how pleasurable the actual breath is. And when you've like seen that pleasure, you're like, okay, cool. What is I got convinced. I was like, what is the what are the side effects of having this pleasure of my breath? Right, and it's very hard to find many, right? It's always there with me, so I don't have to search. It's free. It's not very, it doesn't have, it doesn't create a lot of attachment, because like breath, I can't see it. I can't, there's no perception, like doesn't have a color. It's just a sensation, and it's there till my death. So as long as I'm living, if I can find pleasure in this, then I'm safe.
Yeah. Reminds me, there's a great book, When Breath Becomes Air. It's a good
When
read.
breath becomes air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
About I think he's a neurosurgeon, and he gets diagnosed with some crazy cancer, basically terminal cancer. And him just writing about like his body breaking down kind of thing. And just beautifully written kind of thing. But just that title is just captures so much. Yeah. So when you were doing this thing of like feeling sorry for yourself when you're sick, so did you start, when you started getting that feeling, you then replaced it with breathing or with meditation?
Yeah, so I guess just the practice of meditation, first, it just gives me confidence in knowing that there's a peace that's always there. Right, so I just have like you just have like this confidence that there is that it's there, right? As opposed to if I like did it 5 years ago, right? I wouldn't have even sat, or I wouldn't even have just like, okay, like there's something wrong right now, even if I'm not formally practicing, there's something wrong right now. Where can I just establish a bit of peace? How can I be present in it? Is presence peace, right? I wouldn't know that because I've not explored it, so therefore there's no confidence even attempting it, because it's like it's a medicine I've never tasted. Right. So I think like I'd say what stands out is just like the confidence in knowing that, oh, okay, cool. If I've done it many times before, where I just become content when I put my mind's attention. So what actually happens in that like little time is that my mind is on the emotion of feeling sorry for myself, and there's thoughts that are just running with and the thoughts are of like, it's whatever content, but it's all negative or attached to like that emotion, right? So whatever I think of, if I think of work, I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? Like, I have to send this, that person is so irritating. Why do I have to send it? Like, now I'm have to, like, right, this is like,
Yeah.
And then so my mind is there, right? And all that happens is that I need to be aware that my mind is there, and then like there is you can just move your mind to something that it should rather be on, which is more beneficial, right? So the two things I was just practicing was like using my thoughts. So I was like, I've been a lot sick. This is not bad, right? And that just relieved a lot. Like I've been a lot sick, and I just like contemplate, like, oh yeah, no, I've been way sick, way more sick.
Yeah.
And then, so my mind now has gratitude, right? It's like, oh, I'm grateful. Like I could be a lot worse. Now the emotion is now more of gratitude, instead of being here.
Yeah.
But then what, then what happens is that you still need like concentration too, because then it tends to just keep moving back here, because it's still that pleasure of feeling sorry for myself is still there, right? I haven't learned all about it to let it go. Comes back there, and then my mind should be here, and it just constant. And then eventually, my mind just gets tired of being here, because I've scolded it so many times, like, and eventually just lets go of that, and like it's like starts chilling here. And then when it chills here, then I guess just to settle it here, and settling it here is just easy, just to anchor it to like a breath, for me at least, right? So, right, just whatever the present experience of breath, and then it'll try go here again, and it's like back to breath.
Yeah. Nice. Huh. And I was wondering about your like journey, your parallel journey with entrepreneurship. Like where did that start? Like where? Well, I know you talked of in high school you had your slave owner days. But like, was that your first like dive into business, or were there other things? And yeah, like what's changed? I guess it's hard to say, like in terms of how meditation has affected how you think about business, or. But yeah, let's just talk about like what business, like how did you get into starting your own business kind of thing?
Yeah.
And maybe you should tell people about the slave thing. So.
Yeah, so it's just not on the interwebs. Because it can be left to somebody. Maybe I'll leave it out there. People will make up their own mind of. I think it just started with like this. It was just, upon reflecting, just like a desire to like be important.
Okay.
And it looked like, the image, it was like a image or perception of what an entrepreneur is like fun, right? And yeah, and rich. Right. So I think that's probably what started. It's just this image of a business person. I don't like, but probably just comes from media and like watching TV and just that perception of it. And I think like, so when it sort of started, it was probably like grade 9 or so, where then I started just like practicing to being like that.
Okay. Like how do I
So
become
from what
this?
yeah, it's just like it's like similar to like soccer, right? Like I watch Ronaldo play, or old Ronaldo play, and like I just start imitating that, right? The way he kicks the ball and whatnot. So it's similar to like entrepreneurship, because I remember like in high school, I started, because they used to deliver a newspaper at school, at home, yeah, and I'd go to school with the newspaper under my arm. And I think out of like, I did it for maybe like 6 months. Out of the 6 months I did it, I probably read that newspaper like 6 times.
That's amazing.
But when I reflect, I guess I was just like, and I'd like tie up my top button.
Yeah.
So I was just yeah, I was just copying, right? And then I think
Yeah.
that's sort of like then it just sort of molds the mind, like, because then like
Yeah.
you start pretending to be that more and more, and then you like fake it until you sort of make it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've made it yet, but I'm still
Yeah.
faking it. And I used to carry like like I remember my grade 11 and 12 bag was like a briefcase.
Everyone else had backpacks and you had a briefcase. Yes. Oh, that's so good.
And I guess I would get my pleasure from like thinking of ideas, and most of the time were just mostly just ideas, right? My execution was quite bad, but just like thinking, like always had ideas. So like I guess the slave one, for instance, we had like an entrepreneur. It was in grade 10. It was business studies. We had to start a business for a week at school.
Okay.
So I just decided to sell slaves to other students, sell students to students. I sold students to students. So at the big, like, so whoever's interested in a personal slave for a week, who could do their homework for them, when you had to be at school before they arrived to polish their shoes.
Yeah. Wow.
Polish their shoes, right? Whatever they wanted, you have this personal slave.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted the matrix as your personal slave, you pay a premium.
Okay.
So you could be a grade 10 with the matrix as a personal
wow.
slave.
I didn't realize it went that way also. That's amazing. That is amazing.
And then I just split it 50-50. So if you're a slave, you get, I don't know why the slaves didn't just say, no, I could just get 100, I'll just cut you out of it. But so I'd collect the money and then I'd pay the slave at the end of the week.
Great.
And that was probably the first good feel, like, wow, like I made money.
Yeah.
And I did nothing. and that I remember having that, like, that feeling of like, wow, like there's a system that can, like, didn't feel like work. It felt like organization. It's organizing, and there's a system that can make money. And so before that, like, I think the first seed, like if I speak of discrete points, the first seed was in grade 6, where I had a teacher called Mrs. Harris. And I just, to this day, I still remember, she just walked into class and she dropped a 5 rand on the floor. And then she was like, if I'm Bill Gates, do I pick that up? Right? And then everyone was like, yeah, dude, pick that 5 rand up, right? And then she was like, did you know that it would be, Bill Gates would lose money by picking that 5 rand up? Yeah. And I just blew my mind. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you lose? And she's like, the amount of time that it takes for him to pick it up, he's made more money.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what, how? Like, and then she just explained. She's like, look, there's like creating a system where, a system is making value without, and it's not your, I guess my only view of money was working and my parents working and seeing that. But she's like, there's a system. You can create a system where you don't have to be putting in your own hours, but you are creating value and making money. That's what business is. And I just remember, I was like, wow. Yeah. So that's probably what's seeded it. And then high school, and then varsity also just had like ideas, but execution was also just like terrible. Not ever executing, but just having many ideas.
Yeah.
And then eventually like executed at the end of varsity, starting a business.
But how was that? So that was Nimu? What's the name of it?
Yeah.
So how was that, like, coming out of varsity? Why did you decide to try start a business and not try get a job?
I think a function of two things. the stronger one, the stronger one and weaker one. Stronger one was like just like this pretend person I've been creating, right? So like I had like, I was like, I get pleasure out of being seen as this, business person.
Okay.
So I think, so it like shaped all my intent.
Yeah.
Right. My actions started being shaped by like, I get pleasure out of being seen as an entrepreneur.
Okay. So people around you were like, that guy is gonna start a business kind of thing. Like,
yeah, that feeling. It's the same feeling as putting my newspaper under my arm at school. Like people saw it weird for the first week, and then you start being treated like a business person, right?
yeah.
Like it's like, and then I felt good about it. Like there's a certain way that people start seeing you because of the way you just present yourself.
Yeah.
And then I started a business club at the time too, and then like it just all, and I was like, oh, okay. Not knowing completely.
Dinner. I'm gonna. Yeah, I'll come up later. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Mom. Dinner time. Sorry, you're saying you start getting the feeling kind of, or people treat you differently, and you get that feeling. Okay.
Yeah, and it's addictive. It's an addictive feeling.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the stronger case, and then the weaker case, like I didn't have great marks, right? So I was fearful of like applying for jobs and stuff and being rejected. Where like I was watching my friends all getting like good jobs and whatnot, right? So I was fearful of either a mediocre job because of my perception of like what's most important right now is your marks to get into like these career stuff. So running away from that fear and looking for that pleasure, sort of like fueled it.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
And so now Limu, you basically let go of that completely. Did you sell it?
I wish. I wish I was clear-minded enough to structure a way to sell it. But I guess it's so happened, like as I said, like I got super disenchanted by, because then like I got onto magazines and all these things from, right, and then like now it's like this is like the super pleasure. It's holding a magazine under my arm times 20, being like on a magazine about entrepreneurship and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And obviously I'd like, that's where I should get my happiness from.
Yeah.
Right. And it was there, like, you post it on Facebook and then you get like spikes of, right. But it wasn't it.
Yeah.
It wasn't lasting. It was there, like I can't deny, like those likes, you get likes and then there's a good feeling, but then right after that, it's just, my mind is still my mind, right? It's still anxious about things. It's still worries about stuff. And I still didn't have the solutions, right? But I was like, okay, obviously you need more of that. So I need to work harder and make this bigger. So, right. And then at some point, I'm not knowing the solution still, but just completely disenchanted. I'm like, like this is not it. I don't know what is, but my mind is clouded, but just suffering, stressed, and not even, and being disenchanted about working hard to get more of those likes, or that feeling of being seen as that. And then it's like, it's probably like, that's when like depression like really started. So then just neglecting, not sending out invoices, not being good at communicating with staff members.
Yeah.
Morale just going down, right? Just all the causes of a downward spiral of a business, I guess. And just not having like any solution. I'd have 2 days where I'm on top of it again, and I just get disenchanted again. I'm like, oh, what's it for? Like, what's it?
Yeah.
This must be something more meaningful or whatever. So then, so it had its natural death,
Okay.
slowly, but I was quite attached to like it for a while until I was just like, let me just let it go.
Yeah.
It was after India, I just like let it go.
Yeah. Which is interesting, right? Because like actually a big part of it also is like you maybe think like it's a failure kind of thing, or that like, yeah, you don't want it to suddenly die. Like, and everyone will be like, oh man, like what happened to your business kind of thing. And like, you're that business guy. How did like, but actually like no one even notices because they're like too busy worrying about themselves. Yeah. Like, like I didn't even know what stage it was at. Like, we're just too obsessed with ourselves. Oh man, yeah, yeah.
And you're so right. Like that process of letting go, you just realize people don't care that much. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't have the weight of, because I guess my pleasure was what the feeling I get from people who see me in that way. And then and then that led to like lying and like not being super open about it, right? To maintain that feeling, right? And then when I let it go, I remember I started like just telling the truth a bit more, and I just felt like weight just get off, and then the reaction to was like, whoa, I didn't lose like a friend, or I didn't lose like a good, being treated well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was like less weight. And then it was just a gradual process of just doing that. When I realized eventually it just loosened up. I was like, whoa, you can just like let go of it.
Because it's so much, it becomes so much a part of your identity also, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So that experience didn't put you off like trying to start another business, because you've tried to start a few other things in parallel or since then.
Yeah, I mean, upon reflection, what happened is that I'm like, I'm not going to get the feeling from that business. I need to start this business to get that same feeling, because that desire for that pleasure of likes, real life likes, is still there, right? I didn't dealt with it, right? But I just let go of it coming from this place. But I was like, change that. It's just like moving. It's like moving to Australia, or it's like I just need to move to a different place, and I'll. Right, so it was still that. Like I didn't let go of the fact that it's in my mind. So then I started a new one. And started harder businesses, I guess. Okay. Which is more humbling then, because I'm like, oh, it's hard to get that like again. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's what I've been contemplating a lot on, is like how to do it detached.
Yeah.
because I know that's the happiness is not there. There's no point of complete happiness. No, like if you make R1 million, if you make 100 million, if you make 1 billion, there's no, I've seen it. There's no point of arriving. It's just little doses of a drug. So it is disenchanting, definitely.
Yeah.
which is not negative too. It's just like letting go. Like there must be somewhere else where there's peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that you're aware of it now, yeah, you're aware that that's what you were seeking before. So something that's maybe difficult is like like being detached, like what motivates you to do anything, like how is that, yeah, how is that not depressing in itself again, like being like, what's the point of it? Or because before you were seeking this pleasure from recognition sort of thing, and now
it's a really good question. That's a very good question. I mean, to be perfectly honest, if I don't have anything to replace it with, it's depressing. Right? Okay. Because it's like wanting your favorite car and knowing that like it'll never be, it'll never bring you happiness or whatever, right? And that knowledge, like then you like why was it my favorite car, right? Like it can be because like now I've held it as an identity, right? And it can be depressing. So if I didn't have something more reliable to replace it with, now if I am mindful of my present, if I'm present, right, I'm not worried about losing anything or gaining anything. I'm just well in now, right? So that is like the antidote for me, at least. And then more motivation. That is motivating because I'm well. Right? I can do anything because I'm well. I don't have fear of rejection because I want to, because what actually happens in the middle of business is just like this wave of, I want to be seen as this, and in order to be seen as this, I need to do all these things, and now these things are just a means to an end. I need to convince someone that they should give me money, or I need to send this email, or right, but it's just like a means to an end, right? To get this pleasure, but this thing is not pleasurable itself. So like I'm doing it in stress. I'm doing it in stress because of desire, and that's the desire is stressful, right?
Yeah.
But then when this is just pleasurable, and it's not pleasurable because it's an email, it's pleasurable because I am well. I'm not worrying about the future, past, and that's a practice. It's not an automatic. It's a moment-to-moment practice. It's effort. I'm about to type this email, mindful of my emotion. What is my mood? Oh, interesting. My mood is fear. Right, then I can remedy right that. I can feel the breath in me, and that's interesting, and then it brings that concentration and that absorption, and that absorption is really feeling good. And then I interact with it from there. not from seeking, but from like a well-being. And then when I write is generally then just like, hey, happy Friday, Stacy. Right, it's just, I just feel good. I just like, right? And I'm not wanting anything. I'm just like, I've seen like this, that slight difference, and then like whatever happens doesn't matter as much, right? Because it's uncertain. Like, you know, 8% of businesses make it, right? So therefore, like the odds are against. It's uncertain. But I'm having fun every moment, and I can only experience the moment. So just that change of mindset.
I had the thought now, it's like before you wanted the business to give you something, and now it's more like you want to give the business something. Like this is how you're going to spend your time. You want to spend it well, in creating something.
What's, do you see parallels in I guess you're both mixed in business and in employment, like on being on the employment side of stuff? How, like, does it feel like a job should give you something, or how do you?
It's nice to know that you're getting money. But I mean, like it's very easy to be like, it's just for the money. You're just doing it for the money and you're not enjoying it. But then like, it's kind of like, well, that's how I'm spending every day. I need to make the decision to find a way to enjoy it, or else I would or else the last week would have been crap, or the last month would have been crap, or suddenly it's a year. Like I didn't enjoy any of that last year, but I got some money. What's more important, kind of thing. So
and how do you do that?
it's tough. But I think I try to catch myself. Like if I'm not enjoying something, I try to catch myself and then swap to something that's maybe more enjoyable for a while, and like just give it a break, and then come back to it. Or I like be like, okay, how can I do this differently? This thing that I'm doing. Like, how can I make it? How can I learn something from what I'm doing? So like a good example is like, at the moment, I've been making like hundreds and thousands of drawings. And like right near the start of the project, I was like, this is boring. Some of like just repetitive stuff over and over again. And I knew that I could like learn how to program and like a macro to like do that stuff. I could automate a lot of that stuff. And I was like, oh, it was a challenge. So I was like, it was so good to learn how to do that. And so then like, I learned how to program some macros for the program I was using, and then like automated a lot of the stuff. But even then that became boring because I like had my things set up. So like now I'm training someone to do some of the work, which is nice also, because like I'm like having to learn how to teach people, and like that's been fascinating also, like how to break things down. So just always constantly trying to improve how I do things. That's interesting.
So I mean, if you were to drop $5 now, since you've got a system, would you pick it up? Sounds like you wouldn't. It create a macro to pick up all $5 you leave behind.
Yeah, it's amazing. No. And with like Zimbo ties, definitely like yeah, I wonder, I kind of think about what are my motivations for doing this. And there probably is some, like if you ask me, oh, are you trying to get recognition? I'll probably say no, no, no. But there's probably a part of it there that I just don't want to admit to. But definitely like a big part starting out was like, how am I going to spend, like this idea of how you spend your life. And it's like, okay, I'm choosing to do a business, to like try start a business. It's not going to be fun, some of the bits maybe. But, or no, it was more like, if it's not fun, why am I doing it? Like, why am I choosing to do something that's not fun? So like, I've got to try find ways.
It's a great.
Yeah, try find ways to make it fun. Or why did I choose to put myself in this pain? So that sometimes works. Yeah.
And is that something that you repeatedly play back and do, or is it a once off? Like, you know, how does it? How does
comes
it
up a lot when I'm getting like, if I get sick of it. Like if I'm doing something that I really don't enjoy, or like I'm like, you chose to do this, like it's your choice. Like you can stop doing this now. Like this thing that doesn't work, like stop doing it and like do something different that's like you're more into, kind of thing. So yeah.
And how easy do you find it, or I mean, how do you move your mind from one mental state to another?
I think often it's like, sometimes I'll like catch myself when I reach a stage where I'm like almost getting angry. So it's probably like not quick enough, but it's like I catch myself getting frustrated or something and like not enjoying. Then sometimes it's just like, I don't know if I have a method. It's just being aware of it. I think that's a big part of it, is just being like, sort of like being like, okay, this thing is starting to annoy me, or like, and I don't always deal with it. Sometimes I just like switch to something else, and then whenever I get back to that thing, it annoys me, and I never actually sort it out. Like it's always there. So yeah.
And do you feel like you need to sort out things? Like have a solution for a particular annoyance, whatever the content of the annoyance is?
Yeah, I can't really think of an example right now, but yeah, there are times where I'm just like, I just drop it, because it's like, actually I can be doing something else. Like, because a lot of it I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like figuring out, I'm trying out lots of different things, and it's like, actually this thing might not even work at all. So why don't I just try to do something that I'm going to enjoy, that might not work either, or might work. Yeah, that's interesting.
And then how do you know what you enjoy then?
I think it's those things that like you just get lost, like that are so easy to do. Like it's yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And define like your meditation has helped being able to recognize?
I think so. Yeah.
Or has it been a feature? Has it been a feature since?
Yeah, I mean,
since childhood?
Well, I don't know, because like in terms of like helping with business, like I guess I had meditation and stuff before, so that was nice because it was always there to some extent. Not that I've like reached a Zen state or anything, but like just being aware of, yeah, I think like a big thing starting out when the business started was like being aware of like creating this persona, uh because like because I distinctly remember being like, okay, I need to start using social media to like, and I'm like, man, I'm like gonna have to talk in a voice kind of thing, or like become this person. And I think
Okay.
before that I was like very fluid kind of thing, or like uh I mean there was
Okay.
definitely some sort of ego, but I was almost worried of becoming more egoic kind of thing, like
Okay. Yeah.
and being perceived in a certain way.
Yeah.
uh so that was a big thing. And I almost wonder if because I kind of stopped worrying about that, and I sometimes wonder if like I actually became that persona that like I was worried about becoming, and I'm like so in it that I'm not aware of it. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Huh.
Is it a stressful persona?
No, I don't. Like I think I'm fairly introverted, uh
Okay.
so that was probably part of the struggle,
Okay. Okay.
was like being like I have to have this public persona kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of exhausting uh, in some ways, but which is maybe why like yeah I think I kind of do things in like cycles. Like I'll like work on the business for like do a lot and then just take a break for a while and like go read a lot of books and stuff. And it's kind of nice. It's a
Yeah.
nice cycle in a way. It's like I don't know
Yeah.
if it's actually going to work out as a business, but it's from a learning thing. I was thinking about this the other day. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to try this out, and I like go hard, and then like I like almost need to go in recovery, and then I like read some books, and I think I'm just like processing. Okay, this is what I did, and I can't like put it down in words exactly, but the next time it's there, like that experience is there.
Uh,
So it's
uh,
like it's almost like I go climbing a mountain, like I climb up, go back to like home base kind of thing, like up again, and like every time you're learning. So it's just reps.
okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
So I think I do like sometimes it is quite stressful because I like in some ways I like set myself these deadlines. Uh
Mm.
or else I'm not doing anything. At some stage I'm like, okay, I need to like start setting deadlines. Like, okay, by this
Yeah.
date, this is gonna happen. This day, and then there's
Yeah.
like, I think there's like a bit of adrenaline that comes with that. That is maybe addictive, and not
Okay.
necessarily always healthy. But that's kind of like the way I push myself to do stuff. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Like you've created school holidays. It sounds like like
Exactly.
in
Exactly.
real life there's no school holidays.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And maybe that's what I miss. I like miss that.
You just go intense for 3 months and then
Yeah.
take 3 weeks of reading.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Huh.
Yeah. And I guess like even like professors and all that have like sabbaticals where like I'm pretty
Mm.
sure like for any deep learning it's like pretty good to
Yeah.
have I don't know have a time when you're not you're not in it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish more businesses could like. I was talking to a cousin of mine who works for Uber, and he was telling me that and they speak about like employee wellness. But he was just like saying that it's just on the surface, though. You know, it's not real. Like,
yeah. That's interesting that it's become like this buzzword, but yeah, it's a box.
It's like if the way he put it, it was like if he were in charge of it, it'd be like, yeah, no, guys, look, either every 2 years or every year, you can just have 3 months or 4 months off, and just, you don't have to do work things. Just go and take a sabbatical, right? And with trust, right? Like you have to, you have to be a trusting employer, I guess, right? That it's for the, and he's like, I mean, the way he was putting it is like, I rate this is for the well-being of the company. Because when the person comes, they'll be more productive or have better ways of doing the same task that they were doing before. Have less fear about certain things that they look like were important at the time, but just more perspective, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it's so hard for a company to swap to doing that, right? Because they're almost dependent on like having 100 hours of this person's time, versus like if they started out knowing, okay, they're only going to have 80 hours and then 20 hours the person will take off, like everything gets built around that. So I feel like you almost need to like start your company from the beginning. Like it's that culture, like, okay.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then that business idea like wasn't good enough. Like, because like if you're paying people like low wages from the beginning, then how are you ever going to pay them more? Because like you're employing 100 people, and now you can't suddenly start paying them more, kind of thing.
You've sold your investors a cash flow of this amount of profit. Now you can't say, no, it's going to be 10% less. But no, but I paid for 30% profit, but now you're giving me 20% overnight. Yeah. So I guess that's probably quite tough to sell it. But I guess it's like, it sort of sounds like a means to an end, or it's like this like having a real culture of having faith in the fact that if a mental state is good, whatever comes out will be good, even if it's not this thing that we think we want, because we stress about trying to get this thing exactly what it should look like. All right. And it doesn't mean that there shouldn't be a goal, but I guess there can be a goal, but it's like loosely tied. If you can try, just make, like if you are in a good mood all the time, whatever happens is good.
Yeah.
Like whatever, if it works or not, it's good. And I mean, that's the way I see it, at least. Right? It's like if it works or not, like my experience moment to moment was good. So if it works or not, like then the experience eventually, like like it's weird. Like I'm like, what am I? If my moment to moment experience is good, is anything else then? Like what is it then? What else is there?
Yeah.
Like, what does that goal mean then?
Yeah.
Because I'm chasing a good experience.
Yeah.
But it's here right now.
Yeah. But and which is why it's maybe difficult to pair that with business, right? Because like the money thing maybe becomes like it can take over that. But
yeah, it's Yeah, I've been contemplating that, and just like what I did was just adjust, because like I theoretically know this, and I have experience in this in a spiritual sphere, right? Of practicing moment to moment awareness and putting effort to be content with every moment, right? When negative emotion comes, right, notice it and just like allow it to be, learn about it, see the, you know, all that stuff, right? But then how do I transfer that to business, right? Because I'm going to be stuck in the same trap that I was before, right? And I can't afford to.
Yeah.
So then I even just like got it. I just look for advice from a monk about business. Imagine they're not even allowed to touch money, and I'm asking, and man, those guys are wise too. It's like it was so simple, but yet so effective when I practice it. And all you said is that like what is actually happening is that even like, because what is money? Money is just like a thought, right? Right, and it's not a complete experience, right? What humans experience is, you know, an emotion, a feeling, etc., etc., right? So what you are selling is that you're selling an experience, right? So try orientate your mind to sell an experience, right? Not to not to sing just for customer, just for every interaction that you have, you're selling an experience, right? And then, so how do you sell? And what's this experience you're selling? You're selling a good feeling to the next person, right? Whatever the numbers you guys decide on, whatever, that's just arbitrary, right? Like whatever it is, it's arbitrary, right? It's like, it's not real. The real experience is just the experience, the moment to moment experience. So then the method for that is just like body, speech, and mind, right? So practice, my son, practice generosity and kindness in body, speech, and mind in every interaction. And whatever comes out of that will be an experience that you sold. And whether, and it will loosen this idea that this is how it should be. But whatever comes out of that will be positive and will be beneficial to both people. And like remembering that all the time helps a lot, right? Because obviously I get sworn away into the normal habits, but then he's like, okay, just practically. So all that means is that it's just a practice. So all that means that you just need to be always on the constant lookout for an opportunity to be generous and kind. That's all, right? It's not big events. It's not when you meet that investor, now you're kind to this investor. It's looking for someone drops a pin, pick it up for them, right? You are building up a practice of finding, because there's joy in picking up a pen for someone, but we need to be so practiced at knowing that is where joy actually is.
Yeah.
And like that helped, because like general mindfulness is quite tough to do every moment, like to keep on remembering, come back to the breath. But just that intention every morning, okay, cool, I'm just going to look for any opportunity. And it's not about volume of it, it's about frequency of it. So if you just frequently just looking for opportunity, and that means like when an email comes out, the way I respond is an opportunity to use a kind word, right? And then just like be absorbed into writing well wishes at the end of the mail, right? And when you feel it, it's done, right? You've had the experience, right? And it's like it's subtle,
like time
but
well
like
spent.
and that allows you, that loosens what this mindfulness thing of being observant every moment, because then at least you're looking out for a basis of an emotion of generosity. And I think that's where wealth is. Wealth is just generous. Like rich people I've seen are quite generous.
Nice. And how is your business going? What is the name of
Dashed.
Is it Dashed? Okay, because I thought you changed it to something different. Because I saw some flyer where it had a different name. No.
Yeah, no, it's
Dashed. Amazing.
Dashed.
We won't go into the history of Dash, but because we'll be here for another hour. So good.
Oh yeah, those are Doritos. The blue packets.
Oh man. So did you get to Lesotho? Because you're going to Lesotho at some stage. You were trying to get there when things opened up.
Yeah, I'm going in November now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how are things going? You're going to get a processing lab for farmers. Where are you guys at with that?
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, just background, the general idea is that we are a processor for farmers of cannabis. Right? So we recently got our license beginning of this year. So farmers bring their cannabis to us, we process it for them, and then we give it back to them and they sell it. So they pay us a service.
Okay.
Where it is right now, I mean, it's still in the startup phase. So a lot of uncertainty. So which is cool. Like you learn a lot about just like ourselves through this uncertainty. So specifically where we are, we just within the capital raising. So we've engulfed ourselves in the ecosystem there, which is probably the most important thing. Is like it's quite a nascent market. So
you've engulfed yourself in the ecosystem where?
In Lesotho.
Oh, in Lesotho. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and like it's quite interesting being in like a brand new industry, right? It's similar to stuff I've read about like Silicon Valley, where there's just this attitude of just trying to help each other out because like you're on your own type thing, right? There's no established consultant or there's no established business process, right? So everyone is like chipping away at helping. I can imagine similar to Silicon Valley where someone knew a skill and they just walk next door and say, oh yeah, you can just do it this way, and they're competing companies or whatever. I found that very interesting and very fun compared to like Joburg life where time is a commodity. So like there must be some sort of outcome from an interaction. So that has been particularly fun. So we're trying to still raise capital to set up the facility there. That's a good marketing. We just we're basically just like selling experience, because that's all we have right now, right? There's with a license and intellectual property and a good feeling for investors. So that's been going decently well. I'd suspect we're still probably 6 months away from securing what's in the pipeline.
Okay. And the processing that you're going to be doing is extracting oils, right? So,
yeah. So yeah, that's correct. Extracting oil. So there's 3 products. It's all under extractions. There's one which is full spectrum. So that's the least. That's like crude. If you think it's like crude oil, and then the next is more refined, which is distillates, and then super refined, which is isolates.
Okay. Okay. And that's just depending on what the farmers want.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
What are they?
So
okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think I was probably going to answer the question you just had.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say
what are
they currently doing?
So there's one company they're farming, and there's one company in Lesotho that is providing these services.
Okay.
So we've just differentiated our service from their service.
Okay. How are you guys going to be different?
Price, baby. So the nature of the industry is that it's very nascent. So people don't, people are very price sensitive at the moment. Okay. So the company that's providing there, it's like a monopoly now, and it's very expensive for them to process, and that has a knock-on effect on the price, how competitive they are in selling it in the market, which currently they're not being. It's very difficult for them to compete at the price point of the service to process in the market because of like all the CBD products in the States, where it's a more established market, so there's more competition for processing, therefore processing fees are lower, and the price to do everything is the price to sell the product is lower. So we've just got a method that is cheaper than how they process.
Okay, nice. And then who do they sell to?
The farmers. So the farmers, majority of the farmers right now are selling into South Africa.
Okay.
Mostly because of mostly because of standards, right? So there's a particular standard that's required to sell to Europe, which the processor in Lesotho doesn't have yet. So sales to Europe are not there yet. So everything's coming to South Africa. But once that standard is once it's been achieved, then the market is any country in the world which can legally import any derivative of cannabis.
Okay, so you guys hoping to achieve that standard?
Yeah, it's going to take a bit of time, but that's
cool
ultimate goal.
Yeah, so basically, like, you do to a farming cannabis in Lesotho, you're basically opening them up to the world, kind of thing, which is pretty
because the price to produce the flower in Lesotho is one of the cheapest in the world.
Okay.
All right. So they should be able to capitalize on that, and they're not able to capitalize on that because of the price to process right now.
Okay.
And the price to process is so high because like the competing company has overcapitalized. It was a Canadian company that came and spent 100 million to set up a processing plant in a nascent market. So they have to regain that capital somehow. And
what do you mean by nascent?
It's new.
Okay.
It's not established. So
okay.
There's not 5 suppliers of processing. There's not 5 suppliers of greenhouses. Right? It's
And does Lesotho have different strains of cannabis, like, or cannabinoids?
Yeah. Does Lesotho have different strains?
Like, are people going to want to buy from them? I guess they'll be able to sell it for cheaper, maybe compared to other countries. But is there like any other of uniqueness to their product?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So is anything unique? We don't know yet.
Okay. Okay.
Like there's not enough research. There's not enough research about. So what is clear and what we do know in sort of Western medicine, which is currently where this market is, because otherwise the other medical systems are doing it without paying tax to the government, right? So that's I guess that's what differentiates it. Like a Western medicine, everyone pays tax to the government, therefore it is controlled. The government says you can sell this, you can't sell this, therefore it's quite controlled. But if you look at Ayurvedic medicine or African traditional medicine, right, the Inyanga and African traditional medicine is not paying tax to a government, so therefore the government doesn't give rules about what you can do. So therefore their knowledge is different to Western because they've had time to experiment with different things, see how this works, that works, etc. Right? So there's two different bases of knowledge. So it's quite fortunate that we like interacting with both. But on the Western side, what is known for sure is the isolates, so specific compounds, CBD, THC, right? They have been clinically trialed to assist with certain ailments, right? And it's just because of the nature of how the Western medical system works is that it's not there's no herbal medicine, right? I was speaking to a doctor friend of mine, and throughout varsity, they never ever looked at a herb ever as either preventative or provide therapy for any ailment. So the whole system of Western is not looked at that. It's looked at isolated compounds that can assist. So therefore, that's why it's isolated compounds that are being sold and approved which is CBD and THC, because it's easy to do clinical trials on those things.
Yeah.
Whereas it's more observational. Ayurvedic medicine, it's more observational techniques to see the efficacy of yeah. So I guess you asked, are there any different strains? Yes, there's different strains, but what a strain, the different strain is just the in the within the cannabis plants, you've got cannabinoids, and it's just the differences in the number of cannabinoids, or the ratio of cannabinoids.
Okay,
yeah.
So actually, maybe the question I want to ask was, are there different cannabinoids or isolate things that maybe?
Yeah. So what we find in Lesotho is that there's a lot of CBG, which is an interesting. So that the ratio of CBG in every plant is slightly higher.
CBG.
Yeah, CBG.
Okay.
Right. Which we don't know. I can't say yet what's significant about that.
Okay.
But from the traditional healers that we speak to, their observation is that the strains that they are using are good for epilepsy in children. They've got cancer patients who get a lot of benefits for pain management, and then HIV patients for appetite, increasing appetite.
Interesting.
So we've just got this observational information.
Yeah. Huh. Oh, that's cool, man. Like, good to. So you say you're going to Lesotho in November?
Yeah.
Which is soon, right? Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. I think in the next 3 weeks or so I should be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And you, Zim, what's keeping you there? What are the movements?
The next plan for me is the UK. Hopefully we'll see if the visas come through.
Explain.
So I have sort of claim to ancestry there, I guess. Like, so my grandparents were born there, or two of my grandparents were born there, so I can get an ancestral visa. So yeah, I'm waiting on that. We'll see. I might be in the UK, and if that falls through,
which part?
Just gonna land there, man. I mean, currently I'm working online, so I'm kind of, I can go wherever. But when I get there, like, the project that I'm working on is at some stage going to finish, and then I'm going to need a new job. So the job will probably decide where I end up.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay, that's fine. It's a new chapter.
Yeah, it's a bit scary though. Like right now, when you hear of there been like economies been sort of deflating or like struggling. So, but we'll see. You know.
Yeah.
Take it one step.
And then, I mean, obviously you have to think for two.
Yeah.
Compared to us normal beings.
Yeah, no. So yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing. I think jobs are leading the way for both of us. So
okay.
Yeah, whoever gets a better job.
Yeah, I would hope to get the worst job.
Yeah, that's the goal for me, is to be a stay-at-home.
Dude, breadwinner is overrated.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a bread eater.
Yeah. Oh man. No, anyway. Speaking of bread, I need to get some dinner. I think we should wrap it up. But it's been cool, X. I think we need to do this again, maybe a year from now or 6 months from now. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, dude, it's an interesting experience. It's just that it's like it's felt very warm and just like normal.
Yeah, and I like it because you also, it like forces you, because I mean it happens when you're speaking to each other anyway. You like, when you speak to anyone, you've got to like put your thoughts into words, kind of thing. But when you're doing it for like potentially for an audience, like it's slightly different. Like because you kind of want to provide some context for people. So so it like changes things a little bit, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, what I found was hindering and playing in my mind was time.
Okay, what you want to keep it? You want to keep it to like a certain length, or?
Yeah, because I guess when I have a conversation with a friend, like I'm not as thoughtful about that.
Yeah.
But when I watch a podcast, I don't want it too long.
Yeah. This is definitely a long form.
Yeah, I know.
which I've totally got into. Like I like never used to. Like I would want like the 20-minute max, like well edited, but like more and more, like I'm like getting into the conversation. But maybe what I'll do is I'll edit it so there's like, I'll like take out bite-sized things and do like like Joe Rogan does what does he call them? Joe Rogan clips or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Like that. Just
oh, I see.
Some people have like bite size, so little bits of stuff.
Yeah, and then you need some adverts then too. Because there's a bit of cutting that has to happen because of Benoni plus Zim.
Yeah.
I think we could get Pringles. We could get Pringles. Pringles would definitely sponsor this.
Pringles and Headspace need to pay us for this. We've been selling hard for them.
Hey, dude, like we've made Pringles a premier product.
Yeah.
No. And we even provided like some negative advertising for like Lay's and stuff for them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like they're not allowed to do it themselves. We do it for them.
Yeah.
Like now they know Pringles is full, Lay's is 40%. Dude.
Yeah, amazing. No, great. Thanks, X. Good, man.
No, cool. Thank you for hosting and inquisition, your inquisitiveness.
Yeah, we'll see.
And your listening skills.
No, awesome, man. Cool.
Cheers. Enjoy the dinner.
Ciao.